Microsoft declared war on a file smaller than a JPEG. On June 24, 2021, Microsoft announced Windows 11. The upgrade was free. The catch was not. Roughly 780 million PCs, machines running perfectly fine the day before, were suddenly declared incompatible. Not because they were broken, because they lacked a security chip called TPM 2.0 that most of them had never needed to think about. Microsoft's own tool for checking whether your machine qualified was so broken, so vague in its error messages, that Microsoft pulled it from public download within days. They admitted the confusion. They just didn't fix the problem. 780 million machines locked out overnight. Then a single developer, working alone, released a file. 1.9 megabytes, free, open source. No corporation behind it, no marketing budget, no press release. It broke Microsoft's wall completely. And when 3 million people a month started downloading it, Microsoft did something that should make you very angry. If you want to see how one man's 1.9 megabyte file humiliated a $1 trillion company, hit subscribe. This story gets worse before it gets better. To understand how Microsoft failed this badly, you need to go back to December 4th, 2011. Pete Batard was a software developer who was tired of bad tools. The standard way to create a bootable USB drive at the time was a utility originally built by HP. Clunky, slow, and not designed for the way people actually used computers. Batard built something better. He called it Rufus. Version 1.0.3 shipped on December 4th, 2011. It did one thing. It created bootable USB drives faster and more reliably than anything else available. Nobody paid him. He released it free. He released the source code. Anyone could look at it, modify it, build on it. You ran it without installing anything. No subscription, no account, no telemetry. You owned the tool the moment you downloaded it. By September 2018, Rufus was the standard. IT professionals, system administrators, and the kind of people who build their own machines had all quietly adopted it. Version 3.2 handled Windows 10 installs the way Microsoft's own tools should have. By 2023, Pete Batard's one-man project had been downloaded by over 200 million people, 3 million downloads every month, 33,000 stars on GitHub. No advertising, no sales team. Just a tool that worked, built by one person, given away for free. 200 million downloads, 3 million a month, and somewhere inside Microsoft, someone was paying very close attention. By the time Windows 11 launched on October 5th, 2021, Rufus wasn't just popular, it was infrastructure. When Microsoft announced the TPM 2.0 requirement in June 2021, the backlash was immediate. The PC Health Check app Microsoft released to tell people whether their machine qualified was so broken, so vague in its error messages, that Microsoft pulled it from public download within days of launch. They admitted the confusion. They just didn't fix the underlying problem. The underlying problem was this. Microsoft had drawn a hardware line that excluded machines from 2017 and earlier, sometimes even newer machines where TPM was present but disabled in the BIOS. 780 million working computers told they weren't good enough. What Microsoft told you, the TPM requirement was about security, protecting users, building a safer Windows ecosystem. What Microsoft actually built, a forced hardware refresh cycle, buy a new PC or get left behind. Pete Batard watched this and added 3 checkboxes to Rufus. Remove TPM requirement, remove secure boot requirement, remove RAM requirement. 3 checkboxes, that's all it took to make Microsoft's entire hardware wall disappear. Technically, Rufus replaced a single file inside the Windows installer, appraiserres.dll, with an empty version, so Microsoft's own hardware checker couldn't run. It also injected registry keys into the setup process. Bypass TPM check, bypass secure boot check, bypass RAM check, all set to 1. Microsoft's wall dismantled in 3 clicks. Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, had said at the Windows 11 launch event that it represented the beginning of a new era for the PC. He was right. It was a new era where Microsoft decided which PCs were allowed to exist. 3 million downloads a month said otherwise. Subscribe if you want the story they didn't put in the press release. New video every week. Here's the decision that changed everything. And once you hear it, you'll understand why hundreds of millions of users refused to move and never came back. In February 2026, Microsoft made a move that Pete Batard called deliberate sabotage. Rufus had a built-in feature called Fido, a script that let users download Windows ISOs directly from Microsoft's servers without going through a browser, without navigating Microsoft's download pages, without creating an account. You opened Rufus, selected the Windows version you wanted, and it pulled the file straight from Microsoft. Clean, fast, exactly the kind of thing Microsoft's own tools should have offered, but never did. Then it stopped working. Users started reporting failed downloads, IP blocks, error messages with no explanation. The Fido script, which had worked reliably for years, was suddenly hitting walls on Microsoft's servers. What Microsoft told you, nothing. No announcement, no explanation, no acknowledgement. What Microsoft actually did, Pete Batard went public on GitHub. His exact words, "I'm pretty sure Microsoft paid one of their employees to figure out a way to break the Fido downloads explicitly and then implemented that on their servers." He described Microsoft's servers as deliberately hostile to the script's queries. He said breaking it required active, intentional involvement from someone inside Microsoft. Microsoft did not respond. A trillion-dollar company with a full legal team and a communications department chose not to deny it. You already know how this ends. Imagine Marcus, a systems administrator in Chicago, February 2026. He manages 43 machines for a mid-sized logistics company. Half of them don't meet Windows 11's hardware requirements. He has been using Rufus for 6 years. He opens it to pull a Windows ISO for a deployment. The download fails. He tries again. Blocked. He checks the Rufus GitHub page and finds Pete Batard's accusation posted publicly with technical evidence, naming Microsoft directly. He screenshots it. He sends it to his team. Sound familiar? This was not a bug. Batard's technical analysis showed the server-side changes were targeted, the kind of modification that doesn't happen by accident, that requires someone to specifically identify how the Fido script queries Microsoft's servers and then build a countermeasure against it. Remember when Google tried to restrict ad-blocking extensions in Chrome? That decision became the single greatest recruitment campaign Brave browser ever had. Microsoft's attempt to break Rufus became the single greatest proof of everything Batard had been saying for years, that Microsoft viewed your ability to use your own hardware as a threat to their business model. The Fido block was not the end of Rufus. Batard updated the script. The community found workarounds. The downloads continued. That was the mistake. What happened next was the punishment. The numbers are worse than you think. The numbers don't lie. 3 years after Windows 11 launched with its hardware wall, here is where Microsoft actually stood. By January 2024, more than 2 years after launch, Windows 11 had reached just 36% of Windows users. That is the adoption rate of an operating system that Microsoft made free, pushed through Windows Update, and backed with the full weight of its marketing budget. Windows XP, by comparison, was at 35% 18 months after its October 2001 launch, and that required either buying a new computer or paying for an upgrade disc at a store. Windows 11 was free, and it still couldn't beat a paid upgrade from 2001 on a per-month adoption basis. The wall wasn't working. Rufus's 3 million monthly downloads tell you exactly where those people went. They didn't buy new computers. They downloaded a 1.9 megabyte file and stayed exactly where they were. Microsoft's answer was to charge for the privilege of staying. After Windows 10's end-of-life date of October 14, 2025, Microsoft began selling extended security updates. For consumers, $30 1 year, no renewal option. For businesses, $61 per device in year 1, $122 in year 2, $244 in year 3. The price doubles every year, $61 per device. Multiply that by even 50 million business machines still running Windows 10. That is $3 billion a year. Microsoft is trying to extract from companies whose hardware works perfectly fine $3 billion. That is more than Microsoft paid to acquire Minecraft in 2014, every single year. Because of a file smaller than most email attachments, the migration away from Windows was real. Zorin OS, a Linux distribution built specifically for Windows refugees, hit 1 million downloads in 5 weeks after Windows 10's end-of-life date. 78% of those downloads came from Windows machines. People who had used Windows since Windows 95 were, for the first time, seriously looking at the exit. Imagine David, 61 years old, retired IT manager in Phoenix. He built his first PC in 1994. He has run every version of Windows since 3.1. In November 2025, 1 month after Windows 10's end-of-life date, he installs Linux on a machine he built in 2016. He does not buy a new computer. He does not pay Microsoft $61. He is done. PC manufacturers had projected a hardware refresh wave driven by Windows 11 incompatibility. That wave never came at the scale they needed. Global PC shipments in 2023 fell to their lowest level since 2008. This isn't over. Here's what to watch for. As of 2025, Microsoft is still running the same playbook. Windows 10 support ended October 14th, 2025. The hardware requirement for Windows 11 has not been relaxed. The FIDO ISO download block that Pete Batard accused Microsoft of implementing deliberately has never been officially acknowledged or reversed. And the extended security update fees for businesses double every single year through 2028. Watch for these 3 things. First, the ESU price escalation. Microsoft's business ESU pricing goes from $61 per device in 2026 to $122 in 2027 to $244 in 2028. If you manage machines for a living and you see that invoice arrive, that is not an accident. That is a deliberate pressure campaign designed to make staying on Windows 10 more expensive than buying new hardware. That is the point. Second, forced upgrade notifications becoming forced upgrades. You have seen this before. In 2015 and 2016, Microsoft's Get Windows 10 campaign put an icon in your system tray, scheduled upgrades you didn't ask for, and made the close button trigger an install. They did it once. Watch for it again. If Windows 11 starts appearing on hardware that technically fails the requirements, that is not a bug. That is policy. Third, Rufus itself. If Microsoft moves to flag the Rufus executable inside Windows Defender, labeling it as unwanted software, that is the moment they have decided the tool is too dangerous to tolerate. Watch the GitHub issues page. Pete Batard will say something. He always does. The one thing you can do right now, download Rufus. Keep a copy offline. Keep a Windows 10 ISO, because the window where you control your own hardware is closing, and Microsoft is the one closing it. If you already did that, you were right. They were counting on you not noticing. Millions of people noticed. Drop a comment. Are you still on Windows 10? Did you use Rufus to get to Windows 11? Or did you finally make the jump to Linux? I want to know where you actually stand.